Hey everyone, this is Fiona, and in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the hand shape combination Lady in the Lake. So Lady in the Lake hand shape is a combination of the earth hand and the water hand put together. And I don't see this hand shape as often as the other hand shape combinations, but let's talk a little bit about hand shapes in general. So your hand shape's going to kind of convey the basic temperament and behavioral tendencies that a person has. So when I'm doing a reading, I'm using the hand shape at the beginning because it's kind of like the outline of the person. And you can actually get a lot of information from just the hand shape. And remember, the hand shape is not part of the soul psychology, it's part of the personality psychology. So that can always change. I've seen hand shapes that have changed more from one to another. So that is possible. So let me bring up an example of Lady in the Lake hand shape. So here's an example of Lady in the Lake hand shape. You'll notice that it has like a square kind of palm, and then it has kind of narrow fingers. And so you got the earth plus the water elements kind of combined into one. Now, the nickname for this is Muddy Waters, or sometimes it's known as the Swamp Thing, just because the combination of the earth, which is all about, 3D, getting things done. What is it saying? An honest day's work for an honest day's pay, being all about responsibility, getting things done. And then the water element of the hand, which is all about emotions and intuition and feelings. They tend to be flexible, like they tend to be very much about taking the shape of the container, and they have challenges around boundaries. So when you combine the earth and the water together, it can create a lot of interesting kind of effects. So if there's more earth than water, the person's more likely to work with their hands. So we think of maybe like a nurse or a body worker, massage therapist, a gardener at a convent, even like a blues musician, because you got that depth of emotion. They're very empathetic, nurturing people in general. And then, so if you have more water in the hand, that's when you can have emotional issues. They just become more obvious, more visible. The challenge, there's always a good and a bad, a good news and a bad news for everything in the hand. And it's really about how in tune you are, how evolved you are to kind of be able to work with what you've got. So the downside with this is it can show up as muddy water. So that's like difficulty in relationships and job distresses. One of the biggest things that I see is they tend to choose partners that are very dysfunctional, very unhealthy. They choose the ex-convict that just got out of jail, out of prison, and drinks alcohol and is just very abusive or something. That would be like an example that I would see. And because they're such nurturing, empathetic people, they tend to be magnets for a lot of people with personality disorders, people that are dealing with drug, alcohol addictions, or just people that are just very dysfunctional. So a lot of it depends on which partner they choose. And because they can just be very almost, they kind of live in this fog, and it's not easy to kind of really get clear. But relationships are usually the centerpiece of something that they deal with. That tends to be a challenge with them. Now, I always look at in the hand, okay, if they're earth and water, where is the air and the fire? Is that showing up in their hands? If you think about the fire air combination, that's the illuminator, right? What I look at to see if this person has their life in their controls, I look at their thumb. Now, this is not a particularly strong thumb. In fact, it's like very weak. So my guess is, the hand's not going to tell me what the person is doing, but it's going to tell me how they're designed, what they're likely to be doing. And if they have a very weak thumb, they probably don't have their life together. They probably don't have much control over their life. They have a hard time believing that there would be bad people on the planet, that there are people that are doing horrible things on this planet. They're always surrounded by difficult circumstances. And, can they look past the fog? Can they really kind of see what's happening here? Because it's hard for them to be on this noisy planet where there's bad stuff that's happening. They want to nurture everyone. They want to take everyone home and take care of them. the thing is, they have to really look out for their boundaries. Are they taking a lot of their job stuff? Say they're a nurse and they're dealing with cancer patients and they're dealing with a lot of stress and trauma and stuff like that. Are they taking that home and still trying to heal their patients, or can they leave that at work and have their own space at home where they're not constantly trying to heal everything and everyone, and taking all the cats, birds, and animals, and this dog needs a home and this homeless person needs help. And you could kind of see how their boundaries with being a healer can get out of control. They can probably take on a lot of black hole healing projects, a lot of people that maybe people that are drug addicts, or people that have not looked at their shadow stuff, and they just want to help. They just want to make the place a better place. Yeah, psychologically, they have to be very careful about not taking on a lot of job stress, a lot of distresses. If they're a nurse, not getting overtaken by the patients, all the stuff that the patients are kind of, the responsibilities of the patients. I have a nurse friend who, she says that, being a nurse is hard work. And I agree with her. I think I'm not a nurse, but I could just see when you're dealing with a bunch of sick people, and if you don't have strong boundaries, you could easily take on that energy. So there's definitely like a mothering energy to this. They're very nurturing. They tend to isolate themselves. They have to be very, work on being concise, being good with their boundaries, having some sort of career that does, utilize their ability to nurture and be empathetic, but also, using the elements. How can they utilize more fire and air? So fire is the passionate kind of, let's get things going, excitement part of the, if you're looking at the hand analysis, the elements. And then the air is all about being logical and being able to kind of see things critically. So how can they kind of bring in those elements into the hand? Yeah, so they want to take care of people. Tendency is that I could see a lot of Lady in the Lake hand shapes being codependent. It's like they don't see red flags. They can kind of be aloof to a lot of things that, say like a fire or an earth hand might be able to, pick up on. They tend to be very much in the fog. That's where the muddy waters and the swamp thing kind of nicknames for this hand shape came in. Yeah, being in this world, being a super caring person, but also having boundaries. The evolved Lady in the Lake knows when to leave their work at their work. They know how to be discerning in relationships and not take on unhealthy relationships, and also be able to take care of themselves. They're always about taking care of other people, being caring. Can they now reflect that back on themselves? If they have markers, like if they have like a D-fork line, or if they have a weak thumb, those can be problematic. But, if they have that awareness that they need to just kind of exercise more control and kind of asserting themselves in the world, that's going to make a world of difference. A lot of times in the hands, you'll see a lot of delicious dilemmas, a lot of things that conflict with one another. And I think the Lady in the Lake tends to have that. So another thing is, because the element of water tends to not, the tendency is, it's not like an earth or fire hand or air hand. The water can definitely be all about the inner world, the being. And it's like, how can they actually assert themselves in the world? And that's a whole other video I could kind of do. But yeah, the basic takeaways for Lady in the Lake: they're very nurturing, empathetic, like to work with their hands. And the challenges are typically, I say 99% of people with this hand shape tend to have relationship problems and job distresses. So can they, have that discernment and assert themselves in the world in a way that they have healthy boundaries? All right, thanks for watching.
to